Right, Anders, what is your bad point then?
Well, my bad point is that it's starting to feel like co-streaming is a better business model than running a tournament or even casting or anything else. There's like a news story out right now, I think from League. I kind of was like the LDL or the LPL or whatever it's called. I don't know.
The main Chinese league, so like the second biggest league in the world, basically, is no longer going to have like a real English broadcast. It's just going to be co-streamers. Yeah, and the issue is like, I kind of wonder, it might even be from a business point of view, it makes more sense. Obviously, I think Riot are trying to sell it, saying it's like a better experience. I mean, we can. It doesn't seem like the community is on board with that. But either way, that's kind of a worrying sign for the future. I think the idea that, you basically sort of starting to say, well, why even do a broadcast? Or why not just host the tournament, give the clean feed to other people? I mean, we know in Valorant, Tarek is, essentially dwarfing the mainstream on like half the broadcasts. And I mean, I'm happy for Tarek. I think he's a cool guy. So like, I'm happy that he's doing well and making tons of money on that. But obviously, if you take a step back and you look at the industry as a whole, it does create like a really weird scenario where it's like, well, then what is the future of all of this stuff? Like, are we gonna get like, the next big sort of like caster to come through to like really is that person just gonna be a streamer? And like, is it like, why would they? On some level, why even pursue the casting career if you could just kind of do it on your own stream and co-stream everything? Like, it just opens up a bunch of questions, and I've put it in bad. I guess it's a bit presumptuous. Maybe it will end up being really good, but obviously from my position, super biased. No, but we can just do it. We can just do it from the bad frame. Like, I have a follow-up to ask you actually. Yeah. Look, there's an obvious reason, self-indulgent, why you yourself would ask this question, which is basically it's worse than that, isn't it? Like, if you look at how core streamers tend to core stream, the one thing they don't do is commentate. Like, essentially, as far as I can tell, Anders, commentary won't exist if this is the new model, because first of all, commentary already is like we're trying to ape sports and have a person talk all the time, which is like a traditional model, which isn't in core streaming. As core streaming is more like a watch party, isn't it? It's like a bunch of people watching and occasionally commenting. And then also, as you say, why would anyone even start that job if there's no path at the end, right? Like, as you say, if anything, you'd be better off the joke is, unironically, right, if they did this model in CS2, you'd be better off doing what Donna does and just be a streamer and work your way tangentially into broadcasts than being like Neokai, who works with Anders now. There wouldn't be a position to work with Anders in the new world, right? Does that disturb you as someone who's in the craft of casting?
Here's a different way to approach it. Maybe imagine this instead. Imagine if, let's say, Tarek existed for Counter-Strike, or like he wasn't doing Valorant, but he was doing Counter-Strike, or with Onupix or someone. Like, what if I went to Onupix and I said, hey, listen, why don't I cast, but just only for your stream, and then you can do the react, like, and then he would pay me. I actually think he could, like, that actually might, from a business point of view, almost make more sense, right? Because like, without the casting, it's going to be a little bit harder to be a co-streamer, because now there's going to be a lot of dead silence where like nothing is happening. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not even totally against it. Like, sometimes when I'm not like watching, when I'm not like at an event casting or something, sometimes I'll tune in and listen to Flom's stream. I just like his stream. I think it's a nice place to hang out. And sometimes I get it. Like, sometimes he will even be commenting on like what somebody else is casting. Like, he'll say like, "Oh, the caster said this. I don't know about that." Like, I totally understand the value that it brings and like the community feel to it. So it's not like it's valueless. It's just that it's just putting everyone in a weird spot. Like, I don't know what the future looks like for that, but it feels like we're like at that point where pretty soon a lot of people are gonna have to make up their minds about what this looks like.
I mean, I've done a lot of co-streaming this year and sort of made a secondary brand through it, and it's built my fan base up pretty tremendously, actually. It's kind of created a whole Maui snake pit army. So I mean, it's already in a way.
What just happened there? You do like the cinnamon challenge or something? What's happened there?
No, I don't know what just happened. I just ran in the cold. I just took a run in the cold, so it was
it's all good.
No, it's just that it's opened up a lot for me already, and it actually has made the feeling of not getting hired to events sting a little bit less, if I'm being completely honest. But in another way, it's also kind of given me a bartering tool for driving up my rate, actually, as a broadcast analyst, because I'm missing out on the potential growth and the actual just pure numbers that I would earn by actually co-streaming. So I'm speaking. I think, like, I see the bad of it, because I actually do have to weigh it in a way now. It's like, I don't know if I'd really want, like, there's certain tier 1.5 events, like, for example.
Oh, right. Thorin, do you think if you took certain gigs, it would like affect like the built up like momentum of doing the core streams or something? Is that the problem?
I think if I did this event, I mean, okay, let me just be completely honest. Like, looking at my numbers, looking at the growth that I've had in a year, in one more year, if I have the same growth that I had from last September, in 1 year's time, I would make more from streaming than I would doing event work.
Oh wow!
Just
okay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That's why it's actually it's tantalizing. It's like it's very tempting actually to just drop doing broadcast work and just full pivot into co-streaming.
By the way, that's even one angle I'll say, which is why I can tell you people like Riot want to do this, because all they're thinking is, wait a minute, you yourself have your own sponsors, your own streamer. We just don't pay anything, and you just give us the stream for free. Like that's saving money on that, mate. That's cost saving, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very tempting, and I feel like it is like, okay. The funny line that Harmony Korine, if people know the film director, he did Spring Breakers, like that was his most famous one. He said he had this quote that was saying that that film is losing talent to live streamers, and his actual quote was, "I show speed is the new Tarkovsky."
Oh, King hell, that might be the worst thing anyone ever said in the English language, literally ever.
Yeah, no, but I kind of get it. Like a lot of creative,
Why couldn't he just say, like, you know, fucking J.J. Abrams? Why did he have to go to Tarkovsky as well, just to like?
I know. Honestly, like it shouldn't have been that. Imagine he says like Hassan Abi is the new Kubrick or something.
If people don't know, that's like saying something like, I think Future is the new Beethoven. Like, oh, shut the fuck up on every level.
I know. He went way too far with that.
I know,
one,
you cooked too much on that one. You cooked too much.
Also, it's like your parasocial is showing on their grams. You know, it's like, come on.
Okay.
No, but like I do think that that creatives now that are entering this space and seeing esports are like, you know, when I was like in college and I was seeing esports evolving, I was like, okay, what are these roles? What do I think is interesting about it? And I was like, okay, I think these desk analyst roles, I think there's a way that I could be in that position. I think if I target that space. But now actually, no, like, I mean, what someone from my college, actually a few years younger than me, became like a live streamer, and she probably could have been like I think she's like a top 200 live streamer now or whatever. And it's like, if she probably was like, you know, 5 years older, she might have been a broadcast talent. But it's just like, you look at the money, you look at the possible earnings, and you just say to yourself, like, when do you also have the most brand control? And becoming your own personality and co-streamer is there's the ceiling is much higher.
So you mean you're not even the best streamer from your college? There's some girls number one. You're just number two.
I actually forgot her name, but like, yeah,
is she famous?
It's getting more.
She's really famous.
She's top 200. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
What sort of content does she stream though?
Like IRL content.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, wait a minute. Please tell me she's not going like, banana, so good, hot dog. Is that? By the way, you know what's sad? Maui could, of all the people, I think Maui could actually make sick money doing that in esports. If he was just doing NPC things like that, I think people would fucking buy it up. They'd be paying so much for him to eat the hot dog or whatever.
Emily Zhang. Okay. Emily Zhang. She does stuff with like Mizkif.
Okay. That's fair enough. Then she's pretty big. Then okay.
Yeah. Okay. She's huge. Okay. I forgot her.
By the way, I will say
extra Emily, 433,000 followers.
Fucking hell. Yeah. Okay, that's like all of our followers combined. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was a freshman when I was a senior. Yeah.
Okay.
I think just to add to the point you were just saying, like, I think it's important for people to maybe understand, just to contextualize some of this point, is that if I'm getting hired for, let's say, like 7 events, then when the 7th event ends, like, my impact on whatever is going on, like, ends right then and there. Like, if I don't get hired for event number like 8, 9, 10, then that's it. Like, I'm just kind of gone from history in some sense, like almost immediately, or not just almost, exactly when that stops. And the thing where streaming on your own channel and doing like this stuff is different is because, like, you can kind of keep going, you know, for like even if you don't get co-streaming rights for a particular event, like, obviously that's the big threat if you're a co-streamer, is if some tournament says actually you can't do it after all. I'm sure that sucks and is super frustrating. But even if that happens, like, you're not down to zero. Like, you're still doing something. You can, you know, even if you end up streaming it just with no audio and it's just your reaction to, like, whatever it is, right? Like, you can do a bunch of things to get around even not having the rights to it. So I just think in general, like, this is one of the big threats to the kind of, you know, work that I do a lot now, which is obviously just the plain casting work, is that it can end from one sort of month to the next, and there's nothing you can really, like, if you have nothing else built up, that's it. So I do agree on some level. The co-streaming route is actually probably way more attractive if you look a little bit into the future for a lot of people, which I think is kind of sad though in a way, because like I think it's fun to have the tournaments with the with the crowds and with the people and like like that whole side of it. It's kind of suck if it all died, or if all the good people ended up going elsewhere.
Yeah, I've got a few takes on this. Like, first of all, I will say, whenever I watch CS, one of the reasons I've found it very easy in all of history to do, like, watch parties and live views is because that's actually how I usually watch the game. I usually watch the game with, like, unironically no sound. And what I do is I just, like, fucking either watch it or I have, like, someone on a second monitor when the round ends to look at. And the reason I do it is because I'm trying to actually analyse the game. Essentially, I don't want someone to talk because it's like they're fucking signal jamming me thinking at that point. I want to think what I'm thinking about the game. And also, I understand that phenomenon that people might know most famously from the UFC, where people do say that there are certain fights where the judges gave it to the person that looked like they were losing, but the reason you thought they were losing is because if you listen to Joe Rogan's commentary, he made it sound like they were losing. And sometimes it's true. If you ever go back and rewatch and you realise he has his own biases, sometimes you will be like, oh shit, if he hadn't have said like, oh, he's rocked there, I wouldn't have thought he had hit him. It's like, so similarly, I've always tried to do like a super clean approach. But what's funny is, if I'm ever watching a match where it's like, I also want to watch it for fun, like an example would be if you had like the final of the major or like a big blast where it's like a ball of fucking best of five, like two teams I want to see. Sometimes I will actually intentionally watch it for entertainment. I can tell you, I actually for that prefer to watch the real broadcast. I want it to feel like sports at that point in time. I want it to have like the commentary. I want even the feel of professionalism. Somehow that does add to my feeling that this is epic. That's the key thing. It sets the stage that it's epic. I'll even say, if people don't know, even for things like League of Legends, I'm not the biggest fan of the game. I want to hear the real commentators though, and I want to hear the casting voice I've heard on all the other great moments. Because that's the one reason I was sort of also asking Anders, doesn't he think this sort of makes his job obsolete? Because here's one thing I think people really haven't thought about. When we have these crazy moments, and in fact, in League, I can tell you they did this like for the World Finals. When Faker did some like amazing play in the 5th game, they did one of those ones where you show a bunch of the different core streams and broadcasts around the world. You show like each person's reaction, right? And I was thinking, yeah, that's cool. But imagine if there was no primary caster though. That means that like, yeah, it's cool to see someone go, oh my God, can you believe that? But you'll never have an Anders Bloom iconic call. You'll never have Inhuman reactions. You'll never have Sadikist. It's the Big Apple and Snacks. You won't ever have those moments. And by the way, I've always said this, that moment, the commentary is as associated with the play to be iconic as the players. Like my analogy would be, imagine a cinematic film that never had any like orchestral soundtrack. Like it wouldn't be as epic. It's both combined. It's the action on the screen has to be authentic and get you in it. But then if you put, the Hans Zimmer, the fucking, those like soaring track, that takes it to like the ultimate level. And every iconic moment, you think you want it to be like that. So first of all, I do think we would lose something. We had no main cast and no like sports style broadcast. I also think as well, it just seems unnecessary. It has to be one or the other. To me, it always should have been both. You know what I mean? Because I always used to say back in the day, and this is why I will always admit I was wrong. I used to think back in the day, the dream broadcast, because it would have been for me, would be 2 casts. One would be Anders and someone else do like the traditional normie cast, and then the other one would be like me and Lurpus or someone do like a nerd cast, But what I realised is that latter one is way too niche. Like, even if everyone on Reddit tells you they want it, they wouldn't really. They'd rather listen to the Inhuman reaction stuff. So what I realised is the second broadcast actually should be like this. It should be the fuck around behind the summit, beyond the summit, home story cop style one. That's the obvious one where you bring in personalities and players and you cycle it around. And it's more like that's like the fucking around having a fun watch party, which everyone wants as well. Or you go to the main broadcast for professionalism. I think actually both have a place to play. But sadly, I do understand, as you're alluding to, I do get why for the TO, they're just thinking stuff like, I just get to have like popular people cast the game and they're just going to run all the costs for me and then I just don't pay these casters the money. And lastly, I would say this as well. The other reason why, this is a bit of a cynical take, because I think all 3 people in this call have proven they can survive. But I'll tell you one other reason, and this is a real reason that's a negative if they get rid of real casting and real broadcasts. There are some very good people who work broadcasts right now who have put absolutely zero effort into building a personal brand or a stream, and they would have no job basically if this happens. Like, the difference is you guys, like Anders has done streaming over the years. Maui obviously literally has done the core streaming to make up for not having the events. Some of these people, they get, even though by the way they're good, but they just don't have the extra brand. At the moment, they rely on the old model of you get hired because someone at the TO likes you and appreciates your work. That guy is in a lot of trouble because a lot of those people do still live in the world. I also thought Anders phrased it very well. The point he was trying to make there was, if he does 7 events in a row, even if they're the best events ever, after event 7, it wasn't building anywhere. He's still just like every other event has to be hired for event 8. And if he isn't, he doesn't get to go forwards with it. Whereas as he's pointing out, Maui's right. If Maui does like
core streams once every 3 months, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to stay at this level. But if he does it every event, it's going to gradually build into something crazy, and it could get way bigger. And I can tell you, even the biggest core streamers in the world, 'cause I'm friends with some of those guys in League that literally make like millions of dollars a year, even they at their level say, if you take one event off, sometimes you come back and the viewership halves, and you immediately wonder, like, am I now going to spiral downwards? Like, am I going to lose everything? So that even the biggest guys are thinking that, mate. So I think it's actually way more sort of complex topic than people realise. It's also sort of about how media is changing, isn't it? Because I also do feel like, by the way, I'm actually ready for this to happen. It's so close to happening, guys. I guarantee you the next move is sports will become like this. I actually think, for real, I've always said this, Maui, I never understood why Joe Rogan still does the real commentary. It's like, bro, just do that Fight Companion as a fucking watch party. I think that's what everyone wants anyway. They want you and your comedian friends and some celebrity, rather than like in that scenario, someone else can still do the main cast. Like, I feel like this is like the future of sports. It's not just like it's CS or esports. It's like a media issue, right?
I mean, like something that I thought about when we were doing the Elisa Masters stuff, right? Like, obviously this is going to be, there were a bunch of reasons why this is hard to make work in reality, but like, it almost felt like if you could have sort of that desk and that kind of environment, but just for like as a co-stream for every other, tournament in the year. Sure, obviously, the problem is you're not going to get the rights to do it. But in theory, if you could, then and actually just make it a business with them, right? Just say, well, just revenue share with you guys for the rights for it. In a way, I think that would be a lot of people in the community would say, actually, I'm watching that, like that's great, or I'm watching both, or at least I'm checking out highlights from the other one because I want to see what Duncan and Richard are doing or whatever. Like that kind of environment, I think could be like why I think that's probably where things are going to move. Like you're probably right, like in the way that we'll have both on some level, but then here's another kind of issue which is a bit weird, just to. Over in Valorant, where Pansy and Hypoc are, like they're casting some huge game and they're doing a fantastic job, and Tarek is listening in, and I think the meme is, he's like, oh, chat, what do you think about this? Whatever people say, and if you look at sort of the level of, not to shit on Tarek again, I really like him, and we obviously know each other in real life and all the rest of it, but like the level of effort put into it is just so different, and the level of reward is unbelievably different, right? Like what Tarek is doing scales on a completely different like level, whereas if you're working as a caster, not that you're not getting, I think we're getting paid a lot of money for what we do, but it's just you can't say, oh, but next month I want, like, I'm gonna have double the viewership, so I'm making double the money. Like that's not how the rates work, right? So just there is like a built-in, I don't want to call it an imbalance or anything. There's just like a built-in tension here that's going to be super weird going forward. No,
I know what you mean. Like the obvious problem is if you're Pansy and Hypoc and you're doing like this insane professional cast where you're hitting all your beats, you've done your research. It is true. Then you look, and then the exact same viewership is Tarek just going. Like I always say, his watch parties are like you just watching with a really high roommate, just going like, shit, that's crazy, man. It's like, bro, but then they just go, Tarek, sir, the Brinks truck's at the back door to back up with your payment for this cast today, like the $50,000. Like, it's like, if you're the casters, you're like, what am I even doing at this point in time? Like, this is hard work when I'm doing Tarek, and he's just rolled out of bed like, what shit, man? Like,
I'll say before anybody just jumps into it, though, like you do need to have a brand associated with yourself to start co-streaming. Sure. Like you're not going to just start co-streaming tomorrow if you're a nobody in this space and just suddenly just get viewers. Like even if you do it for a year, like you're having a brand that's tied. Like one thing that it's helpful for Tarek is like, he got into Valorant at a great time when he was a major winner in Counter-Strike, already had a big stream. Like the springboard was already like he was already mid-air. Yeah. Like he didn't start from nothing on it. So 100%. It's not for everybody. I'll also just say that like there's just and like you said, the words of warning are very real with streaming. Like some days when I was doing it, I'm on for 8 hours and I'm just like locked in the whole time. Like sure, I'll walk away to go to the bathroom, obviously, but like it's very different than being a caster, where I will actually say this, like on the flip side, I think the caster role in some ways is the best for time allocation. Like you show up, sure, you can do a little bit of prep in the meantime, like 30 minutes of looking at some stuff, thinking about narratives, writing them down, whatever. But then you show up, you do the job, and you're out. And usually you're just doing one BO3 a day. The co-streamer almost has to do both those games to be making these absurd sums of money, because or else people are just going to watch the other co-streamer and they're going to be like, why don't I just watch that other co-streamer for the whole day? Like the amount of time you do have to put in it's pretty unhealthy. Like, let's just say that. It's pretty unhealthy, and I'm not going to go as far to say, like, this is harder than 9-to-5 jobs. I don't think it necessarily is, because you're doing something that's fun, somebody that you love. That. But who was that guy? Yeah.
No, I'm saying is how many viewers do these people doing these so-called 9-to-5 jobs get exactly? Fuck all. One if they're lucky in the office. Maui's got thousands, you fucking peons. No, the one last thing I'll say as well. I'm amazed he's never thought to say this himself, because don't tell him, it probably blows ego up. But here's the craziest thing. Think about it, Anders. Didn't Richard Lewis actually invent watch parties / co-streaming with the No Majors Club? I think, if you think of the timing, bro, that was like 9 years ago somebody started doing the No Majors. Something mad like that, wasn't it? So, in a way, I know obviously he didn't brand it this way, but he almost did invent co-streaming in a way.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to it, yeah. Now he's ruined it by being invited to the majors,
Exactly.
Yeah, now I'm gonna fall off as a streamer. Honestly.
Exactly.
I'm gonna fall off just by working the actual event. My viewership will go down the next time I turn it on.
Well.
Unfortunately.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.